Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is a special call meeting of the Shelby County Board of Education. Ms. Anthony, please call the roll.
Board Member McKissick. Board Member Hewitt Garcia.
Present.
Board Member Woods.
Here.
Board Member Love.
Here.
Board Member Harris.
Here.
Board Member Coleman.
Here.
Board Member Johnson.
Present.
Board Member Williams.
Here.
Board Chair Green.
Present.
There are 8 board members present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss the superintendent's search policies and procedures and take actions on the next steps. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tennessee law makes no specific provisions for the participation of the public at meetings of local boards of education. However, board policy provides that not more than 30 minutes of each special call meeting shall be devoted to public comment. Speakers must state their name, home address, organization he or she is representing, if any, and the subject of the presentation before they are permitted to proceed. Speakers may offer objective comments about school operations and programs that concern them. Speakers are asked to refrain from using names of personnel or names of persons connected with the school system when lodging a complaint. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip or make defamatory comments or use abusive language. The chairwoman shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to board policy. How many speakers? We have 24, and we will have 1 minute each. I will call the first 5 names. Okay, Tisha Hobson, Beverly Davis, Erica Sugarman, Commissioner Erica Sugarman, Tequila Rucker, and Jennifer Hopper. Please come in that order.
Good evening. My name is Tisha Hobson, 1679 Turtle Hill Drive, Cordova, Tennessee. I am representing for Teacher Voice. Good evening, board members and Interim Superintendent Williams. Thank you for the opportunity to provide and share a public comment. Today I come before you as an advocate for teachers and other stakeholders for our voices to be heard in the final selection process for our next MSCS superintendent. Thank you for your candid transparency and dedication to ensure the selection process is done correctly and with fidelity. My intent to advocate for teachers and stakeholder voice is not to dim the light on the work that you have already done or currently doing, but in the process to make sure it is to eliminate the light for your next steps. We've heard the statements, your voices matter. The hard work you do matters. Well, now is the time to allow us to rise to the occasion and give input on one of the most important decisions for the future of our school district. Thank you for allowing our stakeholder voice in the initial phases of the search. We know that as a board, thank you.
Thank you.
Is it my time? Okay, thank you. Good evening, all. Beverly Davis, Whitehaven, 38116. I am here tonight to ask the question. Why is it the only principal, Dr. Vincent Hunter, the only one with a PhD, the only one with a license to be superintendent, has not had an interview? We said we was keeping this honest. we said we were open to the public. The public hadn't heard from him. He should be at the top of the list. Whitehaven wanted to pack buses to come see you tonight, but I said, let's let a handful of us go first. And if we're not heard then, and then we'll roll out the buses. Okay? So 38109, 38116, we will be heard. All we asking for is transparent. We asking you guys to be honest with us, and we're here for you. Thank you.
Commissioner Erica Sugarman.
Good afternoon. Erica Sugarman. I'm representing the Teachers Union, MSCEA, 126 Flicker, 38104. I am a highly qualified teacher, and I've been teaching for 24 years. And in those 24 years, there has not been one superintendent candidate to ask teachers what they want. And I want to say that Tony Williams is that candidate. She said, I want to hear from the teachers. I care. And for 3 times I asked her, please, will you put your hat in the ring? She said no. The 4th time, she said, I'll consider it. The next time, she said, yes, I will run. This is what the doctor ordered, because every time we go to the state, they talk about our waste. We need a CFO. We've had one before, okay, Craner Cash. We've also had an attorney, Hobson. So I think this is what the doctor ordered, because she listened to us. Not only did she raise the cap, but she also gave the coaches what they wanted, and that is additional money for what they do. She also took the steps back from 30 steps to 18. She also did exactly what we asked her to do time and time again. So, Tony Williams, we want you as our superintendent. Thank you.
Tequila Rucker, 1000 Cooper, 38104. Standing and speaking as an individual. Let me be clear. The special interest groups that I represent are justice, integrity, and transparency. I represent the blackballed and bullied employees in this district. I represent undervalued and underpaid teachers, and I represent the underserved students of Memphis and Shelby County. For over 10 years, I've been coming to this board petitioning you to do what you were elected to do. It's becoming more evident that some of you still don't know what that is. You stated you removed Dr. Whitelaw as interim superintendent because she would be interested in applying for that position. And now you appoint Tony with the pretense that she was not interested in this position, and now you're saying we should make concessions for her. This is unacceptable. We're calling you to a higher standard, and we need you to do better.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Hooper, 1554 Estate Drive, 38119. Good afternoon. The community is watching as several of you are attempting to shift the narrative to cause more confusion instead of accepting responsibility and being accountability to your actions or lack thereof. There is still time to steer this ship in the right direction and accomplish what we all so desperately need and want, and that is to find the best superintendent for MSCS. It's our ask that you proceed with the search process and do not start over. We are asking that you bring integrity to the MSCS superintendent search process. We are asking that you follow Board Policy 1003 without amending it mid-process. The board refused to amend this policy in November prior to starting the superintendent search. For what reasons would you consider amending the policy now, if not to make it so it fits the particular applicant? Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Armstrong, 5536 Tyler.
Hold on, Mr. Kevin, I'm going to call the next 5 names, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Kevin Armstrong, Suzanne Jackson, Shantae Moore, Gil Carter, and Danielle Harris.
Thank you. We're asking that you continue to convene the MSCS Community Advisory Committee according to the charter. Our hope is that you not only convene the committee, but that you will listen to and consider the input that they share. These are the same group of individuals that the Board Chair Green thanked in January for sticking to there and sticking in there. Today we stand in solidarity with the advisory committee, asking that you all reciprocate the same grace that was extended and not give up on the MSCS Community Advisory Committee, a committee that has worked tirelessly to make sure that the community input was at the table. We're asking that you adopt the Community Super Search Plan as it aligns with the community input received during the input sessions and the job description. It includes a public framework developed directly from KQ MSCS Super Search Committee input report that can be directly accessed from bit.ly/Community Super Search Plan. We're asking that you use the framework to select and interview candidates. We're asking that you interview 5 finalists. Thank you.
Good evening. Suzanne Jackson, 4194 Fillsdale. I'm a volunteer with Micah and Stand for Children as a grandparent and retired educator, organizer, and active part of this community and a part of this coalition of groups that are asking, going forward, the MSCS Board and Community Advisory Committee must work together to ensure the search process is completed with fidelity. In doing so, we can put the focus back on the students, which reminds of the question, did you all even read the statements from the KQ MSCS Super Search Community Input Report that was completed by thousands of community members? If so, then you know people want a superintendent that has a background experience as an educator and understands academics. One of the quotes from this results survey reads, "It's imperative that our next superintendent be an educator, not an attorney, accountant, or business person. Over the years, decisions have been repeatedly made that aren't educationally sound nor child-centered. Decisions that aren't best practices in education."
My name is Clarissa Moore, address 1336 Snowden, 38107. Decisions that aren't, finishing what she said, decisions that aren't best practices in education. There are thousands of third graders at risk of being retained for failing a portion of the state test. But instead of doing your due diligence as district elected leaders and raising awareness throughout the community, you're up to backdoor and underhand shenanigans as usual, as has occurred in the recent previous superintendent appointments. We believe that convening the MSCS Community Advisory Committee with the board and adopting the Community Super Search Plan will place community input and integrity at the center of the process. So this morning I was at the board meeting and listened to the board commission talk about the plan to get parents input when I was standing right there as if my input did not matter, and I am a parent of 3 in the school system. I have watched this hand with a problem that causes that we care over the adults more than we care about the kids. So let's continue to search and find somebody that actually meet the requirements of this job.
Good evening. Gilbert Barnes Carter III, 37 West Waldorf Avenue, 38109. I come as just a concerned citizen and a lover of children. I want to make it clear that there are several points that many of us in the community have identified as problematic with regard to this sham of a search. And one of them is policy. You all need to remember that it's very important to adhere to the very policies that you set forth. And a lot of that has to do with qualifications. One of the qualifications I noticed that are listed is the fact that the ideal candidate would need at least 7 years of classroom experience. And not only does Dr. Vincent Hunter have that, he's also served in a very large executive capacity with being an executive role that's very, very vital in the district. in addition to his other qualifications. And we talk about brain drain, we talk about our best talent leaving Memphis, homegrown talent, but when someone of his caliber has the opportunity to lead this district, why he's not included in the final 3 in terms of the search? I don't understand that.
Thank you. Danielle Harris. Ms. Harris, hold on 1 second. Danielle Harris, L.J. Abraham, Natalie McKinney, and Barbara Beaver, you may come forward. Thank you. You may proceed.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Harris, 9421 Morning Woods Cove, Cordova, Tennessee. I want to start with a quote from Marcus Aurelius. It says, "You can also commit injustice by doing nothing." I'm a lifelong Memphian, grew up in Whitehaven. I'm also a lifelong educator. I spent most of my years in education supporting this very district in Shelby County Schools. I only have one agenda today, and it's to advocate for the children of Memphis who deserve the very best. A very quick analogy. I'm an educator. I love educators, but if I was having heart surgery and there was an educator who wanted to do it, even if they had a heart for medicine, I would not want them to perform surgery on me because I would need them to make informed decisions. Likewise, our students not only deserve someone who has a heart, it's nothing personal, but they also deserve the very best, which is someone who can make informed decisions about education and instruction. I have 2 asks that you please follow the policy of the board, the requirements for the superintendent that were not amended before the candidate, so at this point it would be unjust, and to please not suspend the search and include the community. Thank you, Shalia Harris, for not backing down and standing up for what's right.
Hello, I'm LJ Abraham, 199 South McLean. I just had a plug-in recently with parents in the community and asked them what they wanted to see around their children with education. One of the main things they said they want to see an educator that was qualified to be the superintendent. And right now, the people that are up for this position are not qualified, and it's not what the parents want to see. I'm an auntie. I'm the oldest of 6. I have 5 nieces and nephews. The community speaks. They come up and they show up and they're telling y'all what y'all need. It's up to y'all to listen to what the community needs and not just make a decision based on what you want to see. It's based on what the community, these parents want to see. These parents are speaking to you freely and they're saying what they want, and it's up to y'all to do that because y'all were elected to do that. They chose y'all to do this and hold them accountable. Like, y'all need to be in this space where y'all are listening to people that support you, that elected you to be in these positions now, and do what's best for the children in the communities.
Good evening, Chair Green, Vice Chair Harris, and board members, and Superintendent Williams. My name is Natalie McKinney, and I live at 924 North Auburndale. As some of you may know, I am the former Legacy MCS and SCS Policy Director, and now I am the Executive Director and co-founder of Whole Child Strategies, a former parent, but most definitely a community advocate. We implore, no need, this board to center our children during this process and not the adults. Use the policies as the instructions and follow them. Policy serves as your mandate, your roadmap, providing you, the public, the district employees with what is expected, who it applies to, and who is responsible for ensuring it is followed. That's why they're there. That's why we require this board to follow its policies, its promise to conduct the superintendent search in a transparent and participatory way, and with fidelity to the board design process in a fair and equitable way. Many of you have heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. Please do the right thing in the right way for the right reasons. Thank you.
Good evening. Barbara Beaver, 1963 Peabody Avenue. Forever educator, former principal of the Alton Elementary School. In terms of academics, the district is on life support. Literacy scores have not moved much in the past 20 years, and they are now at an all-time low. I am asking in the next superintendent search that this board go from broad to specific in the questioning and the expectations that you have of the next superintendent. That means the superintendent should be able to tell us and you what learning to read looks like in grades K through 2, specifically what strategies the teacher should be implementing and what students should be doing. In grades 3 and above, the next superintendent should be able to tell you and the public what reading to learn looks like, so that at the state level, unethical standards are not being put in place that penalize third graders in this district. We need a superintendent that owns academic instruction. Thank you.
Thank you. Vernita Doggett, Rachel Spriggs, Charles Lampkin, and Miss Cruz. Can't read your first name. Cruz, C-R-U-Z, in that order.
Good evening. Vanita Doggett, 4678 Orange Tulip Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38135. Because there's some confusion on things. I am a parent. My oldest daughter started her educational journey in Legacy MCS in 2009. So as a parent and an employee, I watched this district try to put itself back together from a merger and a demerger. So as a parent, it's not lost on me that these same kids that we want to lock up that are 12 and 15 were kindergartners in 2012 when we started this. And so back then, it was all about the motives of political maneuvering, political grandstanding, and how we do things. It's time for us to really think about what it means to center kids first, to think about where we go next, because we are at risk for losing an entire generation of children. The children you want to lock up were kindergartners in 2012. Let us not make the same mistakes that we made before. Thank you.
Rachel Spriggs, 440 North McNeil Street. While the state is busy privatizing public dollars, I attended a photo op, aka a photo op for a mayoral candidate, aka press conference held by an absent board member this morning who is now attending a mayoral debate. It was said that we were interest groups that were trying to dictate the superintendent's process. Well, I do have a special interest, and that is children. And I should not have to dictate that we operate in integrity and transparency. The policy is not as confusing as the council is making it because he's good friends with the interim and reports to her. We will not stand for a motion to keep Tony by Keith, who is the executive director of a teachers union and a board member. And we definitely not listening to Dorsey tell us what to do with the search when he is a paid consultant under his EdSpace Consultancy Group, LLC. We have qualified candidates in the pool and enough time on the calendar to complete this search. We're not paying out another $500,000 for a superintendent when we telling y'all right now that the superintendent does not meet the basic qualifications.
Good evening. Good evening. Charles Lampkin, 3711 Austin P. Highway. I stand this evening as a concerned parent and as a taxpaying citizen. Tell me something. How far have we gotten since last July when we gave former Superintendent Ray the opportunity to step down and take a cash payday? Please tell me, how far have we gotten? What have we done to make it right for our children? Today, we gave a board member an opportunity to grandstand, give a political statement, basically, instead of really talking about something that they needed to be doing for our children. That was not what we needed to be doing. We needed to be standing there speaking about what we're going to do in terms of finding the appropriate superintendent for our children. Here's what we need. We need a capable, qualified, competent superintendent that's educational focused. What we need is a capable, competent school board that's going to stand behind us, the citizens.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Most of them are going to sit down anyway. That's the end of their people.
Hello, my name is Ziania Cruz, so you can remember. We've actually worked together before in Kingsbury. You're my representative. I live at 38108 zip code. So I'm just here because I want the community plan to be followed. I want your own policies plan to be followed. When we were working together, I spent the last year as an organizer for CTC, working with parents, students, teachers, and even the principal at the Kingsbury School, for high school particularly, but we were including all schools. What the students wanted was more health support. What the student wanted was more mental health support. They also wanted more focused curriculum, and these things that we only get when we have a focused school board and a focused superintendent that knows what they're doing. Ms. Green, you actually, my apologies, Dr. Green, you actually told me that you didn't think that students should have a place voting for or being a part of the school board, because that's what the students were also advocating, because if you had youth on this board, this would not happen. Thank you.
Dennis Anderson, Vicki Clay, Dr. Keel Moore, Nick Knight, and Wayne Woodard.
When I came this evening, I did not realize the priority here, because I represent a company that sells clear armor for schools and police cars to make glass bulletproof. So I'm going to leave some information with you so you can focus on the priority tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicki Clay, Whitehaven, 38116. I come to you as a parent, as an educator, and most importantly, as an advocate for the students. In the time that I have been within Shelby County Schools, we have had many superintendents that has not represented us as a body. I feel the next representative should be someone who knows the school system, who has been in the school system, who worked with the school system, who is a true advocate for the students. It is not about me, it is not about us, none of the committee, it is all about the students. That's why we are here. We need to have someone who is going to make a difference. That is the most important part. We have to stand and make a difference for our students, because we have students who barely can read. We have students who can barely multiply, and they are in high school. But we have people here who are trying to run as superintendent, but they has never been a part of the school system and don't know anything about the school system. We need someone who is going to represent us as a body that's going to make a difference in our students.
Dr. Moore.
That we hire will have 20 academic directors, 5 academic assistant superintendents, a chief of academics, and 17 instructional leadership directors. That's almost 45 people charged with addressing education. We don't necessarily need, in my opinion, a superintendent with a specific educational background. The superintendent does not primarily work with children. They work with other leaders who work with children. They need to be able to run a business and to manage 14,000 employees and 100,000 students. I want you to understand, I'm making this comment because I am aware that Tony has conducted an audit to do her job better. And I want to leave us with a quote. Good leaders hire experts. They don't have to be experts in the area, but they need to be good executive leaders. And so as we question all of the leaders, we need to make sure they can lead the school board.
Good evening, Board. Nick Knight, 1367 Faxon Avenue. The people have spoken, the process is broken. That's a quote that we say back in my hometown. There's a scripture that also shares that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So I wanted to make it clear that I'm here to speak to principality systems, lack of transparency, and every form of inequity that ultimately results in negative outcomes for children. Wanted to lift up that there was an article published not too long ago that shared how board members wanted to narrow the search without further community input. Amidst many conversations had behind the backs of community stakeholders, me being one of them, decisions hidden from the eye of the public, we've now arrived at a point where this process has become what board members sought against what they said in March, a popularity contest. We've arrived to a point where the process has become more about internal popularity versus community trust and transparency. Once again, the people have spoken, the process is broken. Will you listen?
Our last three are Wayne Woodard, Jerica Robertson, and Carmela Hernandez. Wayne Woodard. Ms. Robertson, you can come on.
Good evening. My name is Jerica Robertson. I am, address 10220 Addison Drive, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. Today I'm on two sides. I'm a former employee, also a parent of a child that attends Shelby County Schools. I just want to start by saying that Superintendent Williams, she is a product of the district. So I've heard many complaints about not being on the academic side of it. When you are a product of the environment, I don't feel that education is important education is important. Let me reword that. But you are a product. You are in it. And just as an employee, I can say that Ms. Williams, she is a leader. She is a leader, she's determined, and she made sure that the job got done. From spending over 16, 17 hours a day. Most people don't see that, but you have to be a leader in order to lead a full district.
Good evening. My name is Carmelita Hernandez. My address is 939 National Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38122. For me, it's important that you understand, because my culture, my people, sometimes don't speak English. So their children are learning English to help their parents. And if we don't get this right, you're not just failing our students, their parents as well. And this comes not just for the Hispanic community, but there's a lot of diversity out there in your schools that you are just putting in the back burner. And it's unfair, because I work in the community, I live in the community. I try to make the best. I sometimes tell them about you guys. I may not know you personally. I try to understand what you do and help my community understand this process. But please don't make me a liar. Please don't make my community fail. Don't make these children fail anymore. Because it's sad that some people right now still can't read and write and do math. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I respectfully request a brief moment to speak regarding the comments that were made this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to begin by saying that I have been transparent, upfront, and respectful with both the board and the community when I made the decision to apply for the superintendent's position. I am proud of the track record. I am proud of the track record of accomplishments we have achieved since I was recruited and asked to serve as interim superintendent. I was asked to step up into a role during a pivotal moment in our district During that time that I have served, it was stated that I did not want the job of superintendent. I did not have a plan to be superintendent. And during this time of serving, it has been challenging based on where we were as a district, but it has also been an honor, and it has been amazing each morning to wake up each day and to join this board and serve our community, and most importantly, our students. I have been dedicated to serving as interim superintendent. There have been very difficult decisions to make, but I have been bold, I've been accountable, and I've not shied away from serving my community. We have established a proven track record that I'm proud of. We have accomplishments such as the legislation with Germantown schools and Lucy schools. We prevented our schools from being taken over for only $5 million and later received $77 million when most people told me to stand down. As a result, we now have our first new high school in over 10 years, a win for our students. We have put a heavy focus back on attendance and truancy. We made during this time very difficult decisions and made investments while partnering with governmental agencies, community partners on behalf of our students, because we know if students are not in attendance, they can't learn. We've had a target focus on literacy, and also for teachers. We have approved the first teacher's contract since 2018. We have a $27 million incremental increase for the proposals of a new salary schedule. And I heard a lot about special populations being the first superintendent to invest over $9 million for ESL students. We're working to secure funding for a new high school in Fraser. It is through this proven track record that I've received support for the overwhelmingly majority of this board that I sit next to tonight for the decision to only apply as superintendent as being a part of this process. I have also been honored to receive encouragement from support, community leaders, teachers, school leaders, parents, and even legislators to put forth my name only based on the impactful work that I've proven. I want to assure you, board members, and this entire community that I will continue to put our district first with the highest integrity, transparency, and accountability, and most importantly for our students. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. Can I go on and read and then I'll call you?
I can interject momentarily. Ms. Williams, I appreciate everything that you said, and I know that you have worked hard. Everything that you said in there was true. But in order to follow policy and process and to do things decently and in order, that part was not on our agenda. After public comment, we're supposed to go into request for action. So saying, ladies and gentlemen, please, decently and in order. Like I said, Ms. Williams, everything you said was true. It was true. But we have to follow the agenda and do things decently and in order. Chair.
Thank you. And she did ask permission, and I did grant it. Okay. 6.1 is to discuss the superintendent's search policy and processes and take on to next steps. Before we go on, I want to read into record. Ms. Michelle McKissick was not able to be here, and so she asked that I read it. Our parliamentarian said that it was acceptable. Thank you, my board colleagues, the students and families of MSCS, and the greater community for your deep level of engagement and concern on the superintendent search process. First and foremost, I want to emphasize the common thread that ties all of us together, and that is we care about children and their education. The responsibility of selecting the next superintendent lies with the board. We were elected, and as a result, we are the only ones held accountable. Special interest groups aren't held to that standard. This is why the board must lead this process. Over the past 6 months, the board has said, number one, 6 months of board meetings with public comments availability. Number two, 6 public community meetings district-wide, 1 in Spanish and another on Saturday. Number 3, 6 months of meeting with activists and community groups. Number 4, a survey sent district-wide with 5,000 responses received and reviewed. And number 5, a website created specifically to provide public information on the search. I am now calling for the board to continue with the superintendent search process. I believe that the policies which have been in place for over the past 12 years and those that the board used to assess the past 2 superintendents permit all of the finalists to continue to the public interview phase of the search. To further engage our students and families who are directly impacted, I'm also calling for a blind lottery to select 2 MSCS parent guardians from each district. Once selected, these parents or guardians can submit questions that their board members will ask each of the finalists during the public interviews, which the community can attend. This blind lottery will provide the opportunity for impartial engagement from those who care the most about the students in their districts and their parents. We must keep our students at the forefront. I support the will of the board, whether to suspend or continue to search. Michelle McKissick, District 1. I want to just take a moment for laying the foundation out for the purpose of tonight's meeting. There are 2 options for consideration that I would like to make as the board chair. Number 1, we continue with the 3 candidates. Or number 2, we take time to self-correct, to address concerns from the board and community, and after we self-correct, we collectively determine the next steps. This is about 110,000 students. It is about 27,000 students that could be impacted by the 3rd grade commitment. We often ask the question, how are the children, and are the children well? Let's keep focusing on our students. Thank you. Board Member Board Member Woods.
Madam Chair, I'll hold my comments till later. I do think that it was important tonight that we hear from the community. It's also important that we understand that policy belongs to the board. I said at our last meetings, it's up to us to decide if the policy that we currently have in place allows for non-traditional candidates. But if at best the policy is ambiguous, then I think this board has to decide if it wants to revisit that policy. I've heard from a number of you, either through your public comments over the last few days, and I think through this conversation, the reason we wanted to meet today is so you can be heard. One of the comments that really resonated with me, particularly around the comments that we've had from the community. Again, public input has been paramount. But what we haven't done as a board is receive that information and clearly articulate our North Star as a board. We have to own that. It's okay to say that at this moment, with our fiscal impact and the federal dollars that we received during COVID, if you believe that a CFO is right to lead this district, it is okay to say that due to our literacy challenges, if you want someone who has an academic background to lead this district. I think the candidates brought forth by the search firm allows you to make that decision through your up or down vote. But if the community believes that it is important for us to review our policy and clearly articulate what that looks like, then we get to do that also. But it's okay to own that. Look, you are on your timeline. You are on your timeline. If you would not rush through a process if this was a bid for lawnmowers, right? If there was a bidder out there that said, hey, this process has been tainted from the start, you would either push forward or you would step back and say, maybe we should review what got us here. And so if you want to follow the policy, do that by understanding what your policy says. And it's okay to take time to do that. And if you want to come sit up here, you're welcome to do that. But if you could, let me please finish, and then you can have the floor again if you like. But I just want to finish my comments to say, board members, if you want to pause, right, and take the time to review your policy, you get to do so. But if you don't, then you have to push forward with the candidates. You cannot become a de facto search firm and start designing rubrics and then picking people from the list. You have to either reset or move forward with what you got. Those are your 2 options. I tend to agree with the recommendations.
Thank you. Vice Chair Harris, and then Mr. Keith Williams.
Thank you, Chair. The search firm was supposed to be available for questions tonight. Are they available? Because I do have one question for them.
Yes.
Max, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, my question is, the rubric that you all presented to us on
Yes.
Saturday before last that did not reflect what the board recommended back in February and when we had our 101s. It also did not reflect our existing policy. So my question to you all is, where did you get direction for the rubric?
Sure, I'd like to respond to that because we embedded, first of all, let me step back. The posting for the position, which contains, and this was shared with the advisory committee, I've shared with the board, I believe it's been posted on the district's website and our website since February 27th, had those points. I believe that's the points to which you were referring to at the last meeting, Vice Chair Harris. So what we do is we build those into the rubric, and I'll just give you I can give you a few quick examples. One I talked about at the last meeting, but I think it bears repeating. The relevant experience to us and what we interviewed for, what we did background check for, what we did references for, were those first 6 points. Proven successful experience in hiring, developing, supporting, and retaining highly talented teachers and leaders. Demonstrated leadership ability to ensure, sustain, and strengthen academic growth in urban systems. And the other 4, I won't take too much time. The last one, expertise in delivering high quality, high frequency, highly accurate communication through multiple media. And then we use that, the 10 years in the policy, that was a difference maker, between a 4 and a 3. So someone who got a 4 could check out of those 6 items, those first 6 items in their job description. If they checked 5 of 6 of those and had 10 years in experience in education, that was a 4. Less than that would be a 3, 2, or a 1. So that's one example. The interview responses, the same way. The interview responses were not just about the substance that we talked about, but also about those skills, again, that we heard from the community, that we read from the community, that were embedded, that are in the job description. Some of those, what the term of art, I think, is soft skills, but we think they're incredibly important and really hard skills to have, and that's about transparency and ethics and integrity. In the interview, we also asked about those other 3 points in the job description. What evidence is there of achieving measurable academic growth? And the candidates would write that in their resumes, and we would have our back office track down the evidence if they couldn't provide it. And again, if they hit all of those, that was a 4, and anything less went to a 3, 2, or 1. And one of the final categories that was in there was overall fit. And that's where we took everything that we learned from Memphis Lift, from KQ Communications, from our individual conversations, and ranked people a 4, 3, 2, or 1. So we really did use what we heard, and it was embedded in I can go through and tell you exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the rubrics of the 16. So and we don't count Memphis Connection, though we did hear that about the importance of a Memphis Connection. So I understand your point clearly, and but I just wanted to I really appreciate the opportunity to clarify how we used it. So those final 3 candidates, again, no one was perfect, but they were in the top tier of candidates between 50 and the 16-point rubric of 4 points for each category. They were between 56 and 62, with the next highest being down to 50. So that was clearly an upper echelon group. And I hope that answered your question.
Not necessarily. Based on what I was able to grab, because I don't know if it's my hearing or just the audio. So if you can give me just a yes or no, did you use board policy as the basis for the rubric?
We used it in relevant experience to differentiate between a 4 and a 3. So we used the policy if somebody had 10 years, that counted towards getting a 4. If they had less than 10, they could not ever get a 4 for relevant experience. So that's how we used it.
So is it a yes or a no that you use board policy as the basis? And if I could point out, audience, we appreciate you all being here. Definitely appreciate you advocating for what you believe in. But to do things decently and in order, please do not make any noises. If you agree, thumbs up. If you disagree, thumbs down. We really appreciate that. Max, if you could, one more time, a yes or a no. Did you follow board policy as it exists to create the rubric?
We use the board policy in the category of relevant experience, and it was impossible to get a perfect score in that category without having 10 years. Did we use it as a threshold? Did we use it as a disqualifier? No, we did not use it. If they did not have 10 years of experience, it did not disqualify them. We were, I will say, we did know of the policy. In fact, I think there was an email where I referred her, I don't know if it was to you or to Vanita, not you, Ms. Harris, but to the board or Vanita, 1002 and 1002 and 1003. But no, we did not use it as a disqualifier. Yes, we did use it as part of the rubric. Can I just add how much I appreciated hearing from the community too?
I'm sorry. Give it over to my colleagues to ask more questions, and then I'll come back. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Chairman Green. Keith Williams speaking. We have heard you, audience, very clearly. We understand policy 1002, which is the policy of this board, which binds this board to elect a superintendent. Therefore, I move, Madam Chair, that we suspend the company that we've hired to do so, and this board moves forward with the selection of a superintendent, and anybody who needs to apply shall apply to this board. So that leaves it wide open for everybody. No one is being discriminated against, and I guarantee you, if you submit an application, it will be heard and it will be read by this committee. So the board shall, at this time, it is my motion, that the board will move forward with this business, and it will take care of this business with the community in mind, and we will get rid of this process.
Second by Stephanie Love.
Could you speak the exact motion?
Would you repeat your exact motion?
The exact motion is to fire, to suspend, to get rid of the company that did the search, that we own this process, that we allow people who have applied to reapply to come to this board, that we will develop and carry out this process and determine our next superintendent, which is the duty of this board and the responsibility given to us in Particle 1002.
Okay, that motion was moved and second.
Now, if anyone would like to speak to that motion.
Anyone would like to speak to that motion? Joyce, Frank Johnson, Joyce Doris Coleman. Okay. That's Frank. You don't. All right, Joyce Coleman. Yes, ma'am.
I don't agree with that right now. I can't agree with us suspending what we have worked hard where we are. We can move forward with this. I can't. The integrity, I've been speaking about the integrity of this process. And to actually sit here and say we're going to suspend this company that we hired, that we didn't do everything that we should have done as a board.
That's why we have to redo it.
We don't have to redo it. We have to correct the wrong.
Right, but you can't keep them.
We can keep them, but until we hold us accountable first and foremost, we can't hold anybody accountable. I can't hold my children accountable for not tying their shoes if I don't teach them how. We got to, come on y'all, we bigger than this. This is uncalled for. We are bigger than this.
We have a motion on the floor, and the parliamentarian says that we have to vote. Okay. I mean, they can continue to.
Oh, you can have more debate. There's
Okay.
a bunch of other motions.
Do we have more? Frank?
I'm just going to step out and say that I disagree, like my fellow board member, Joyce Coleman. I think that the search firm has found a lot of great qualified candidates. And like I said last week, I think that the community Oversight Board needs to be brought back to partner with us to go through these candidates, because we have talented people that have already applied. I don't think that the process needs to be stopped. I don't think we need to start over. We can actually keep going with the applicants that we have right now, and we can come up with a group of finalists anywhere from between 5 and 7. We can actually do this. We as a board, as much, and don't get me wrong, I love what I'm seeing right now, but we made promises to the public, to the people of this city, to the parents, to the teachers. We said that we were going to do this a certain way. And we have to do that. We have to do that. So that's my motion right there. I think we should continue with the search right now, reactivate the Community Advisory Board, and review these applications that we already have. That makes sure that everybody gets an equal shot and they've already applied. That's just.
May I speak to that, Madam Chair, since I made the motion?
Yes,
I think the only way we can do that is to own it. We cannot go back to a group that has failed us to do anything. They have been paid for their service, and they have excluded certain people. This motion would include everybody who has applied, and they would be automatically included. They wouldn't have to reapply. They could come back through this committee of the board, but that firm that we paid these thousands of dollars to has clearly failed this process. So we need to own the failure and clean it up ourselves. They can't clean this mess up. We have to clean it up.
No one's up to speak. Then it's time to vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the recognition. Board Member Williams, the challenge with that recommendation is that, once again, we're becoming a de facto search firm. It is not what I signed up for as a board member. I hired a search firm to bring me back a list of finalists. Now, again, I will continue tonight, and I don't think they'll agree with everything I say. It wouldn't be me if they did. But the community was also right by asking for more candidates, right? So we have to own that. We brought them 3 candidates. We had an opportunity to bring 6, the top 6. The search firm articulated how they got to their top 6. And then we would have went through a process where they would have clearly heard from the community. Talk about premature. Like right now, I really love the comment where someone talks about it being a popularity contest. The popularity contest is clear. There are those who are advocating for the finalists. There are those who are advocating for those on the list who, how do we work that way up by either creating the rubric, either me interviewing them, taking them to lunch, whatever you come up with, but it's not what I signed up for. There is a firm that must create a process, but the North Star has to be decided by us, which is why when I say reset, it simply means get clarity on what you want in your next superintendent. Use the information provided by KQ to say this is our North Star. And if it is a seasoned CFO that can do this work, pick her. If it is somebody who came up the ranks and did this work on the ground that you heard from about tonight, pick him or her. It's okay. But we will not restart the process, nor will we fire the firm that has taken our lead. We may not like what we got, but we have taken their lead, and it's okay, guys, to say we didn't get it perfect. The worst thing we can do is hold our nose and push forward if you don't like where you are.
So are you advocating that we accept all of the candidates
saying that I will,
interview them as the board?
I apologize, but if there's a motion on the floor to withdraw from the search firm and not use their support, I will be, and become the de facto search firm, I'm simply saying I will be voting against that recommendation.
Well, the motion can be amended to include the firm, but we must do our work. If you don't want to go back and redo these people, if you want to accept everything the firm has submitted to us and allow other people to do so, that is fine as well. But it is time for us to do our work and the community. Now, we do that. If we leave the firm in it and they can only determine who we talk to, then there's a problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Woods?
I was just going to close by saying if it's the privilege of the motion maker if he wishes to amend his motion to get broader support. I'm just saying, as stated, I don't plan to support it.
Well, the broader support could be if we want to stay with the firm, but we must talk.
Okay,
he referred back
push your
to
light,
my
Mr.
motion.
Williams, and I promise I'm coming back. Vice Chair Harris,
Thank you, Chair.
followed by, hold on, Ms. Harris, Vice Chair Harris, Amber Hira Garcia, and Joyce Doris Coleman. Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Chair. I'll let my vote speak for itself, but I do want to make a note to the search firm not to discredit them. They did exactly what they were told to do. The issue was all board members did not have a voice in their actions. So I don't want to discredit the search firm. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. So I don't think we need a new one. All 9 board members need to have a voice in how they do what they do. And they need to follow board policy, in my opinion. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not a discredit to the search firm. They did what they were told to do.
I have a lot of thoughts. If you're in the listening public, I think the first thing I need to say is if you feel confused or you felt confused over the last few months, I felt that too. And as board members, we felt confused because we should have had this conversation a long time ago, and y'all should have been looking in on it. We had emails, we had a disjointed communication plan, and that I agree with Vice Chair Harris is that HYA did exactly as they were directed to do, and how that communication flowed is difference of opinion. I will say, like, the challenge that I hear, or the red flags that I see, is that we can't pick and choose what we liked about what our search firm brought us. We can't say collectively, these are great candidates, and then they've made a mistake somewhere along the process. I've applied to jobs with 400 candidates, and I met every qualification. You have to interview, you have to follow a process. Not everybody gets through a process. That is not directed to anyone. It is just, there's one job, right? And you have to impress among an unimpressive pool. So I think that it feels strange to say we like bits and pieces of what someone has done. So I've challenged there. The other thing is, when I've had plenty of people call my phone, text my phone, offering their opinion. When I randomly called people who live in my district, the problem they had was with us, not the candidates. It is the way that we handled it. It feels, whether that's true or not, that we did this in the dark. And so I would urge us to not take over a process because we don't have the trust to do that. And I would not support us managing a process in that way. Also, it cannot continue with the current leadership.
The only reason I supported it because the candidates' names are public. The only reason I supported it is because the candidates' names are public. And I don't have trust in the process. No more. I agree with everything Amber said. Maybe we should have the board go back and visit the process. Yeah. I don't trust the process. So that's why I voted in favor of the process. I don't think, no shade to Keith Williams, I don't think the board has the capacity to do a superintendent search. No shade. The only reason I voted in favor of the superintendent search, because I don't trust the process, and the candidate's name are being broadcasted. That's all I have to say.
Board Member Williams.
I do not understand an elected board who is sitting here admitting that we don't have the ability. At the end of the day, policy 1002 says we must employ a superintendent, and that is the only responsibility to an employee that we have. So if we don't have it, why in the world would we think that someone from out of this world could come here and tell us who is best for Memphis? These people have applied. We know who they are. And if we don't have enough intellect to pick them, we don't need to be up here. Certainly we know who they are, and they have already given their service. They have already made the application. And for us to sit here and say we don't have the ability to select from what they've given to us, that is an affront to this board, and we all should resign if we cannot do that, because that is the least we can do. We can decide who the next superintendent of this district will be based on the folk that they've submitted to us, and anyone who did not get submitted has an opportunity to do so. I don't know how much clearer you could be and how much fairer you could be. Everybody would have an opportunity, but the board still has to make a decision at some point, whether it is now or later.
Board Member Coleman. Okay.
Kenneth Walker, I would like to ask you a question. Can the board do it legally?
Are you referring to
The superintendent search. Can the board do it legally with just us?
I'm looking at your policy 1002. It contemplates the board developing a selection process. It indicates that it may be done as a committee of the whole, through a board committee, or use of a search firm consultant. So it looks like the board, through its policy, has created multiple avenues, including coming together as a board committee to conduct a search process, or through the utilization of a search firm. And based on what the board has done to date, it appears that you all have elected to conduct a superintendent search by utilizing a search firm.
The question before us is on suspending the search company and doing the search process.
Okay, so a parliamentarian said the question now on the floor is suspending the search company and the board.
And doing the search ourselves. That is the board doing the search.
And the board doing the search ourselves.
That's it. It's his motion, so.
She said it's his motion.
That's about right.
He said, is that correct for your motion, Mr. Williams?
My motion is not to, my motion is to accept the work of the group that we have hired to do. And we own the work now, and we take that work and we open the process for interviewing and hiring a superintendent. If we accept, but we would no longer need, they would not be a part of that anyway. They've done their job by bringing back candidates. Now, if there are some people who believe that they were not given a fair shot or didn't get a fair share, they should have an opportunity to apply as well. So all I'm saying is that the process should be owned by this board now, because they've done all that they can do in the search firm, and not putting anybody out and excluding anyone. Those people should be welcome, should be given to us as well. But those who feel as if they were not considered have a way now to get into the process.
Yes, sir. We're going to go on and vote, but your motion on the floor.
Yeah, was to suspend the search company.
So are you
use their
bring it back to the board to do the search?
No, sir. Not to do the search. The search has been done.
So is your motion to go forward with the 3 names given?
My motion, let me be very, very clear, is to end the work of the search firm by accepting their candidates. But we should have the right to also open it up for additional candidates who think that they did not make the process. But then we own the process from this point on. They've done all that we've asked them to do. They've given us candidates. We didn't ask them to hire them out. We asked them to give us candidates. And that's what they've done. We have the right now to add to and conduct a vote. And that's all that we need to do. We don't need to go back and reset the whole process. The process
yes, sir.
has
I think
occurred.
we're clear now. So that motion will require a second.
His motion originally had a second, but this is not where we started.
Right. I think his motion changed a couple of times.
Yeah, it has. It's evolving.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Woods? Mr. Woods?
Yes, ma'am. No, Madam Chair, I stand by my point I made earlier. If Mr. Williams would like to move forward with his recommendation, we need to just vote it up or down, or he withdraw his motion. Those are our only options that's before us right now.
Okay, to vote whether you're in favor of his motion?
So roll call vote, Shanice, whether we're in favor of his motion or not. Who seconded it? Originally, Stephanie.
Ms. Love seconded it.
She changed it, all right?
Did you withdraw your second? Yeah, the motion.
So he didn't have a change for that. That motion kept evolving, so no. He didn't have a second because I think Stephanie withdrew. No. No, that's what we're just trying to clarify.
There was a motion on the floor that did have a second. That motion, as I wrote it down, when I asked it to be repeated, was literally to suspend the search company. I don't know what that means exactly, but those were the words. And to somehow bring it in-house for this group to do a search, There was no other language associated with it, but over time it has evolved into something else. Search company and do the search yourself.
So we voting on that original motion?
That's the only thing that's before the assembly.
Did that have a second?
Yes.
So we have to vote on it.
Originally seconded that motion.
So we have to vote on it.
So we have to vote on it, yes, that's what we were saying.
Up or down?
You just voted up or down.
Okay. Everything. Yeah, all of that, everything. The entire process.
We're responsible for flying the candidates here, putting them up in hotels. That's what you're saying, if you suspend them.
Chair, if I could bring just a
If
little
they're
bit of
from out
order
of
to
town.
where we are.
No, see.
If I could bring just a little bit of order. None of us up here have ever done a national superintendent search. And so it is a new process to all of us. And when you're doing something you've never done before, naturally there are going to be some mistakes made. And we have made some mistakes. And so instead of throwing our hands up and saying, oh, well, let's do something different, no, let's stick our heads together. Let's come up with a better plan and move forward. That's what we need to do. And if that looks like in a couple weeks, not months, not a year, but at least a couple weeks, within those 2 weeks, that the board comes together and sit down and we really talk through exactly what we want, and we all give clear direction at the same time to the search firm that we have paid for that is still on contract with us. If we do that, we can move forward better. But what we are doing right now is wasting time. I don't mind spending time, but I would not waste time. We made a mistake. We were not clear in this entire process. It has confused us, it has confused the community. So let's take a couple weeks, decide on a date for us to come together. We have retreats all the time to sit and discuss and make a plan. And then we vote our next board meeting. So no different. This is too important for us to sit here and go back and forth. Let's take a couple weeks, not months, not a year. A couple weeks, decide on a date. All 9 board members come together. We sit and talk through exactly what it is that we want. We communicate that collectively at the same time to the search firm, and we move forward better.
So to that end, I will withdraw my motion and I will sustain that.
I still have the floor. Have you pressed the button?
Yes.
Is your light on?
Yes.
Did the chair call on you? No, she did not. I still have the floor, sir.
You may speak.
I
was
still
just
have the
saying,
floor,
she
sir.
asked me would I withdraw. Yes, I will withdraw
Mr.
my
Williams,
motion.
hold on 1 second for me. Hold on 1 second. Ms. Harris, are you going to make a motion?
That's my motion.
So restate it because he's writing it down. So we're.
Okay, we need to vote on his first. Yeah.
Unless it relates to this motion. If you want to get rid of this motion, the best one you can do is to postpone indefinitely, which gets it out from in front of us.
Oh, I can withdraw.
If he withdraws and there is no objection, then it's gone.
Okay, so I will withdraw the motion and consider what Shayla has said.
Thank you. Motion withdrawn. Shalia, are you making a motion?
I am.
Yes, ma'am.
I am making a motion. I am making a motion that within 2 weeks' time, so that there is some accountability and there is a timeline for us and for the community, In 2 weeks, we need to come up with a date for all 9 board members to come together in retreat form like we always do. We need to discuss with clarity, with all voices present, exactly what we want according to our existing policy. If we're going to add to that, let's talk about it. If we're going to accept the policy as is, let's talk about it. But what we are doing right now, we are not moving forward. So that is my motion for us in exactly 2 weeks, within 2 weeks, that we decide on a date to come together in retreat form and we discuss exactly what it is that we want publicly. We do this publicly and we move forward better. That is my motion.
Second.
When you say discuss.
Madam Chair?
Board Member Woods.
I just want to help add some color to the recommendation. It sounds like at a date certain, this body will come together in the retreat format at the recommendation of Board Member Harris to do a couple things to decide our North Star of what we want in the next superintendent, but also to address whether or not we want policy changes. Is that also part of it?
Board Member Woods, I don't mean any harm, and I appreciate your support always.
Yes.
Always.
I just want to know, is
but
policy
please
a part
do
of
not repeat what I just said
I
very
gotta vote
clearly
for it. I
as
just
a
want
man
clarity.
and explain what I just said.
Don't do that. Don't do
Please
that.
do not mansplain it to us. Board Member
I got you.
Woods, I was very clear.
All right, so can I ask a clarifying question, please?
Absolutely.
Are we taking up the policy as well at this retreat?
Absolutely, because as a board, we own the policy.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
So we're not making a motion tonight on whether or not we sustain the current policy. We'll take that up at the next board meeting.
Is it me? Okay.
See, I clap back now.
You can walk over.
Let there be peace on earth. That motion has been made and second, and roll call vote.
Board Member Hewitt Garcia.
Aye.
Board Member Woods.
I think. No, aye.
Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member Harris.
Aye.
Board Member Coleman. Aye. Board Member Johnson.
Aye.
Board Member Williams.
Aye.
Board Chair Green.
Aye.
There are 8 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. That motion passes. Mr. Woods?
Madam Chair, may I ask you questions regarding this upcoming retreat? And you can refer to Ms. Harris if for clarity, but will we need additional staff at this meeting, or you want board members only? Do we want to have a member of the community to help facilitate that meeting?
All of the above.
All of the above? All right, so we can come together on what that looks like in the coming days? Because I know, I would assume that the community wants to know exactly what will happen at that retreat, right?
Well,
So,
we'll be able to communicate that out.
thank you so much. I know you will. Thank you.
Thank you. If there is no further business before this body, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.